The June sun scorched the island of Kos, turning hope brittle as searchers combed the arid landscape. A young woman was missing, Anastasia Rubinska, and every step across the parched earth felt heavier with dread. Volunteers and locals, united by fear and determination, scoured the unforgiving terrain for any sign. Anna among them moved with quiet resolve, eyes sharp for the smallest clue. The land offered only silence and shadows, secrets jealously guarded beneath the relentless Mediterranean sky. As hours dragged on, hope faded, but the search pressed forward, desperate for answers, desperate to bring someone home. Anna's search led her to a solitary tree, its base unnaturally disturbed. A foul scent drifted from a pile of thorny branches, an unspoken horror beneath. Rumors of a frightened man seen dragging branches here haunted Anna's thoughts. She called for help, heart pounding, as the truth became undeniable. Beneath the brush, the body of a woman was found, disfigured, unrecognizable, her identity cruelly erased. The desperate search was over, but a new nightmare had begun. Sirens shattered the silence as police and forensics descended on the scene. The island's beauty was now a mask for violence. Fear spread quickly. Who was this woman, left nameless and hidden in the wild? The brutality of her concealment spoke of deliberate evil. Kos, once a haven, was now the site of a chilling crime. The investigation had only begun, a journey for truth and justice. This is the story of Anastasia Patricia Rubinska. Anastasia Patricia Rubinska, born in Poland, 1996, grew up in Wrocław, shaped by hope and kindness. Her family remembers her as ambitious, gentle, and deeply optimistic. She believed in the good in people, her compassion a guiding light. From a young age she dreamed of a life beyond borders, fueled by curiosity and creativity. Her upbringing forged resilience and empathy, but also a vulnerability in a world not always kind. These dreams and values would lead her far from home, toward a fate no one could have imagined. For Anastasia, travel was more than wanderlust. It was a quest for meaning and connection. She trained in beauty, mastering skills to empower others and support her adventures. Modeling beckoned, a symbol of her confidence and willingness to dream big. She worked at luxury resorts across Europe, blending ambition with practicality. Every job, every journey was a step toward the vibrant, extraordinary life she envisioned. But her pursuit of beauty and experience would lead her into the unknown, where dreams and danger would collide. Anastasia radiated a kindness that ran deep. Her compassion and empathy drew people in, forging genuine connections. Her open heart was a rare gift, but also a vulnerability. She believed in the good in people, sometimes too much, and her trusting nature, while beautiful, left her exposed to those who would take advantage. In seeking connection, her openness became both her greatest strength and her most heartbreaking risk. Anastasia Rubinska was a vibrant soul, ambitious, kind, and endlessly trusting. Her love for travel led her from Poland to Kos, where she embraced new cultures and friendships with open arms. Yet her openness, while beautiful, left her vulnerable far from home. The tragedy of her story lies not in her trust, but in how such goodness could be so cruelly exploited. Her light, and all her tomorrows, were stolen far too soon. For years, Anastasia and Michal dreamed of exploring the world together. In May 2023, they took a leap of faith, leaving Poland for the sunlit island of Kos, Greece. They packed their lives into suitcases, chasing a new beginning filled with hope, adventure, and the promise of a brighter future side by side. Together they stepped into the unknown, hearts full of dreams. Arriving in Kos, they were greeted by the island's stunning beauty. Azure waters, whitewashed buildings, and the scent of wildflowers in the air. Settling in Marmari, they quickly found work at a 5-star hotel, embracing new roles and challenges together. Long hours were balanced by sunset walks and swims in the sea. Their dream was now reality, a shared adventure filled with promise and joy. Anastasia and Mihal's new life in Greece seemed idyllic, sun-drenched days, vibrant culture, and dreams unfolding on the island of Kos. But paradise can harbor unseen complexities, and happiness is fragile. Less than a month in, darkness crept in, casting a shadow over their hopes. Their pursuit of a brighter future was careening toward an unforeseen precipice. On June 12, 2023, Kos Island buzzed with life as evening fell. For Anastasia Rubinska, it was the end of a long, exhausting shift, made worse by a painful burn. Tired and sore, she craved a moment of peace. Instead of heading home, she chose a solitary drink in the lively Marmary night. But beneath the island's vibrant surface, a subtle unease began to stir, one that would soon change everything. Once settled with her drink, Anastasia reached for her phone, her lifeline to Mihal, her connection to familiarity in this relatively new land. The texts began, as they often did between a couple so deeply intertwined. At first, her messages to Mihal were frequent, lighthearted. Perhaps she described the lingering smart of her burn, or shared a fleeting observation about the people around her. There might have been playful emojis, casual shorthand, the easy rhythm of a long-term relationship unfolding through digital exchanges. Mihal, still at work, would have glanced at his phone, a small smile perhaps, reassured by her presence, her voice in text. These early messages painted a picture of normalcy. But then, the digital conversation began to change. Subtly at first, then with a more pronounced and alarming shift. The playful tone in Anastasia's messages started to fade. It was replaced by something else, something unsettling. A flicker of anxiety, then a growing sense of disquiet began to bleed through her words. The casual, easy flow of their communication became punctuated by a new, disturbing undercurrent. Mihal, miles away, busy with his own duties, would have felt a knot begin to tighten in his stomach as he read her evolving texts. The distance between them suddenly felt more significant, more ominous. The precise nature of her growing unease, conveyed in those fragmented texts, painted a worrying picture. She wasn't just tired or a little tipsy. Anastasia started to express a genuine feeling of being unsafe. What did she see? What did she hear? Who had crossed her path to make her feel this way? The messages became less about her day and more about a present, pressing fear. This was a stark departure from the ambitious, confident young woman who had bravely moved across Europe to chase her dreams. Now, her texts whispered of vulnerability, of a situation that was making her deeply uncomfortable, her digital words a cry for reassurance. Mihal, reading these messages, would have felt his own alarm bells ringing louder and louder. The casual check-ins had transformed into something far more urgent. He knew Anastasia. He knew her spirit. For her to explicitly state she felt unsafe was a serious indicator that something was genuinely wrong. The lightheartedness of their planned evening date evaporated, replaced by a pressing concern for her well-being. The phone in his hand, once a tool of connection and playful banter, now became a conduit for her fear, transmitting a chilling sense of her distress across the physical distance that separated them that fateful night. His concern mounted with every passing moment. As Anastasia's messages grew more distressed, Mihal's concern naturally escalated into a desire to act. He was her partner, her protector in this new land. He immediately offered to come and get her. He would leave work. He would find her. He would bring her home, away from whatever or whoever was causing her such profound unease. His response was swift, born of love and a growing sense of urgency. He just needed to know where she was, what he needed to do. He was ready to drop everything, to bridge the distance between them and ensure her safety. The thought of her alone and scared spurred him into immediate action. But before Mihal could make arrangements, before he could set out to reach her, another text arrived from Anastasia. A message that would alter the course of the night, and indeed, their lives, irrevocably. She told him that someone else had offered her a ride. Someone had approached her. Someone had seen her distress or perhaps her solitude and extended an offer of assistance. This in itself might not have been immediately alarming in a friendly tourist town. People offer help, strangers can be kind. But the details that followed cast a more sinister light on this seemingly helpful gesture. The person who had offered Anastasia a lift was, according to her text, an unfamiliar man, not a friend, not an acquaintance, a stranger. And he wasn't offering to call her a taxi or walk her to a safer, more public place. He had offered to take her home on his motorbike. A motorbike. This detail added a new layer of risk, a sense of speed, of potential isolation. Riding on the back of a stranger's motorbike, especially when feeling unsafe, was a precarious proposition. It implied a level of trust placed in someone she did not know, a reliance on his intentions being entirely honorable. That message, conveying this unexpected offer from an unknown man, was the last direct communication Michal ever received from Anastasia. The final words he would ever read from her. After that text, her stream of messages, which had flowed with increasing anxiety, abruptly ceased. The connection was severed. The brief, typed words about a stranger and a motorbike ride became a haunting final testament, a chilling cliffhanger in a real-life drama that was rapidly turning into a tragedy. Michal was left with this last, unsettling piece of information, and then, nothing but a deafening, terrifying silence from her end. The silence that followed Anastasia's last text message was not immediate or absolute, not in terms of electronic signals. What came next was even more perplexing, more terrifying for Michal. 3 separate location pings were sent from Anastasia's phone. These were not messages from her, not her words, but cold, impersonal GPS coordinates. Each ping painted a new point on a map, a digital breadcrumb trail. And with each successive signal, the location indicated was further away than the last. Further from where she had been, further perhaps from safety, further from any chance of Michal reaching her easily. This silent moving trail was deeply ominous. Each new ping would have deepened Michal's dread. It suggested movement, yes, but not necessarily voluntary movement. It hinted at a journey, but to where, and with whom? Was she with the man on the motorbike? Was she being taken somewhere against her will? The phone, her only connection to him, was now just sending these cryptic, untraceable signals, each one pulling her further into the unknown. The technology that was meant to connect them now seemed to be charting her disappearance, marking her path into the encroaching darkness. And then, after the third ping, the distant locations, the signal stopped, abruptly, utterly. The digital trail went cold. Then, there was only silence. A profound, gut-wrenching silence that screamed louder than any words. No more texts, no more calls, no more location pings. Anastasia's digital presence had vanished. The void left by this sudden cessation of communication was immense, terrifying. Panic, raw and overwhelming, began to consume Michal. His initial concern, sparked by her texts about feeling unsafe, now exploded into a full-blown crisis of fear. The woman he loved, his partner of 13 years, had effectively disappeared into the night, her last known contact speaking of a stranger and a motorbike. Michal did not wait. He could not wait. The terrifying silence spurred him into immediate, desperate action. His mind raced, replaying her messages, the offer of the ride, the subsequent location pings that led nowhere. He knew with a chilling certainty that something was terribly wrong. He contacted the authorities, the Greek police, his voice likely strained with fear and desperation as he recounted the night's events, the sequence of texts, the final horrifying silence. He also reached out to Anastasia's family in Poland, sharing the dreadful news, shattering their peace with the terrifying reality of her disappearance. The search for Anastasia Rubinska was about to begin, but the night of June 12th had already sealed a tragic fate. Michal's world had fractured. The chilling silence from Anastasia's phone echoed with an unbearable void. Desperate calls to Greek police began the search as news shattered her family in Poland. The island of Kos, usually welcoming, became a labyrinth of darkness and fear. Colleagues whispered, the community grew anxious, and dawn brought no answers. With each hour, dread deepened. Anastasia had vanished into the night, leaving only questions and a growing sense that something was terribly wrong. Investigators traced Anastasia's final digital footprints, her anxious texts, a stranger's offer of a ride, and chilling location pings leading into the island's darkness. The trail ended abruptly, deepening the mystery. CCTV then revealed Anastasia outside a grocery store drinking with 5 men. These men became the investigation's first real leads. Surveillance footage revealed Anastasia leaving the grocery store, captured on CCTV as a passenger on a motorbike. The rider, Salahuddin S., was quickly identified. Police detained Salah and 4 other men seen with her that night. Interrogations revealed inconsistencies and fresh injuries on 2 suspects. The circle of suspicion was closing in. For 6 agonizing days, police and volunteers searched Kos for Anastasia, as hope faded and dread grew. Her phone, found abandoned and wiped clean, hinted at foul play. On the 6th day, Anna made a devastating discovery near the salt marshes. Anastasia's body was found, her life violently taken, and the island's peace shattered forever. The discovery of Anastasia's body sent shockwaves through Kos. She was found less than a kilometer from Salahuddin S.'s home, the man last seen with her. The evidence mounted CCTV footage, her final text, and the body on his doorstep. The net closed. Under intense questioning, Salah's story cracked, his earlier claims of innocence dissolving as the truth emerged. With Salahuddin S. in custody, his residence became a primary crime scene. Investigators descended upon his apartment, their search meticulous, painstaking. They were looking for anything, any trace evidence, that could definitively link him to Anastasia's final moments and her brutal murder. Every room, every possession, every dark corner was subject to intense scrutiny. The air inside that small dwelling must have been thick with unspoken questions, with the silent echoes of violence. They knew Anastasia had been there, according to his revised story. But what horrors had unfolded within those 4 walls before her life was so cruelly extinguished? The search yielded its grim rewards. Investigators found strands of blonde hair that matched Anastasia's. These were not just random fibers, they were silent witnesses, physical remnants of her presence in a place she should never have been, a place that had become a trap. Then they found clothing, a red-stained blouse. The stain, ominous and telling, hinted at violence, at bloodshed. And an orange sweatshirt, another item that could potentially be linked back to the victim or the crime itself. Each discovery was another nail in the coffin of his claims of innocence, another piece of the horrifying puzzle slotting into place with chilling precision. These were not innocuous findings. The blonde hair placed Anastasia directly inside his home, undermining any narrative that suggested only a fleeting, innocent encounter elsewhere. The red-stained blouse was even more damning, a stark visual suggestion of a violent struggle, of injury. The orange sweatshirt, too, would be meticulously examined for any forensic connection. This physical evidence was powerful, tangible. It spoke volumes where the suspect remained evasive or deceitful. It directly contradicted his shifting stories, painting a picture not of assistance, but of a sinister encounter that had ended in unimaginable tragedy for the young Polish woman. The thoroughness of the forensic sweep would have been absolute. Beyond the immediately obvious items like the hair and clothing, investigators would have searched for microscopic evidence, fibers, fingerprints, DNA, anything that could tie Salahuddin S. irrefutably to the crime. They would have swabbed surfaces, examined drains, looked for signs of a cleanup. The apartment itself was now a chamber of secrets, and the police were determined to make it confess. Each piece of evidence collected was carefully bagged, tagged, and sent for analysis, building an undeniable mountain of proof against the man who now sat in a police cell, his freedom gone, his dark secrets slowly coming to light. While the physical evidence in Salahuddin's apartment was damning, it was his digital trail that sealed his fate. Investigators uncovered chilling internet searches, how to erase phone data, mislead police, and destroy evidence. A one-way ticket to Italy revealed his desperate escape plan, but police moved faster, intercepting him at the airport. The evidence was overwhelming. There would be no escape from justice. The arrest and the compelling evidence gathered by the Greek authorities paved the way for legal proceedings. Salahuddin S. was formally charged, and the case moved towards trial. The charge was grave intentional manslaughter. While the distinction between manslaughter and murder can be nuanced, the intent to cause death or grievous harm leading to death was at the heart of the prosecution's case. The island community, and indeed observers far beyond Greece and Poland, watched with bated breath, hoping that the overwhelming evidence would lead to a conviction, a measure of justice for Anastasia. The wheels of the legal system began to turn, slowly but inexorably. The trial, which concluded in December 2024, would have been an arduous and emotionally draining process for all involved, especially for Anastasia's grieving family. The prosecution meticulously presented its case. They would have laid out the timeline of Anastasia's last hours, supported by CCTV footage and witness testimonies. The damning physical evidence from Salahuddin's apartment, the blonde hair, the stained blouse, would have been presented. Crucially, his chilling internet search history, revealing his attempts to cover his tracks, and the plane ticket to Italy, underscoring his intent to flee, would have painted a clear picture of guilt for the court to consider. Ultimately, the weight of the evidence proved undeniable. Salahuddin S. was found guilty of the intentional manslaughter of Anastasia Patricia Rubinska. The court delivered its sentence: life in prison. This was the most severe penalty available, a clear statement that such a brutal act would not go unpunished. Interestingly, the court did acknowledge the possibility that others may have been involved in the crime that night. However, despite these suspicions, only Salahuddin S. faced charges and conviction for Anastasia's death. This meant that for Anastasia's family, while one perpetrator was brought to justice, questions about the full extent of the horror she faced might forever linger. The verdict brought a somber sense of closure, yet it could never truly fill the void left by Anastasia's senseless death. A life sentence for her killer meant he would no longer be free to harm another innocent soul. It was a form of justice, a societal retribution for an act of profound cruelty. But for Anastasia's family, the pain would endure. The court's acknowledgement of potential other culprits left an unsettling ambiguity, a painful loose end in a story already so saturated with grief. While one chapter closed with the conviction, the echoes of Anastasia's stolen life, and the unanswered questions surrounding her final terrifying hours, would continue to resonate. The conviction of Salahuddin S. closed the case, but for Anastasia Rubinska's family, grief endures, a wound that time cannot heal. Her absence is a constant ache, her laughter now just a memory. Their world, once brightened by Anastasia, is forever dimmed. She was only 27, her dreams and future stolen in a moment of vulnerability. The family's agony lingers, echoing in every cherished memory of Anastasia. The tragic case of Anastasia Rubinska sent shockwaves through Greece and Poland, shattering the peace of a tourist haven and igniting global outrage. In Greece, disbelief and sorrow swept the nation, while in Poland, grief and anger resonated deeply. The case raised urgent questions about safety, justice, and the darkness that can intrude even in paradise. Though a conviction was reached, lingering doubts and unanswered questions left a shadow over both nations. Anastasia Patricia Rubinska's story is now known. Her dreams, kindness, and spirit touched many. She should be remembered not just as a victim but as the vibrant, ambitious young woman she was. Her tragedy reminds us of life's fragility and the importance of awareness. By honoring her memory, we strive for a safer world, one where vigilance, compassion, and community protect us all. Her legacy is enduring awareness.